Alrighty, folks, time for something different. I have the COO, John Block from Park West with me this morning. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we are a real estate channel. I thought maybe, John, we should talk about your one and only successful real estate deal. You did something in Vegas. Let's
I,
talk about that.
I'm the least successful real estate investor in history, but no, I'm sure that's not true. But I've had a number of properties over the years, and I really never found a whole lot of success with them. But I did find success one time, and that is right in the peak of the financial crisis. I was able to purchase a penthouse in Las Vegas.
Nice.
And so that penthouse had previously sold. I think the number was for like 3.2 million or something crazy like that. And I think the number I bought it for was 480.
Wow. So
And
80%
so,
discount.
yeah,
Hard to go wrong,
yeah,
huh?
that's right. But so a couple of things happened all at once. Clark County basically made it impossible to get a home loan there as a result of the financial crisis.
Sure.
I think you have to put 30% down. So for a lot of people,
Out.
you're out. And then the second thing that happened was basically people abandoned Las Vegas. When the going got tough, that was their second or third home, and people
Yeah.
were just gone. So anyway, I was able to get in at right around 500, and of course then I waited until pandemic,
Sure.
and people were going crazy buying all sorts of things, and so I was able to get out at a very good price. So I had one success.
One
in all
success.
of my
Well,
time. I need to be listening to the channel. I think.
that's great.
I think that maybe the only job cooler than working in the CIA might be international art dealer.
Yeah.
So I'm like James Bond, only with a lot of lithographs, that kind of thing. So, similar.
Well, let's talk about that. So you have traveled all over the world,
Yeah.
any favorite ports of calls or favorite cities?
My favorite one is always the next one.
Oh,
I
that's a
have,
good answer.
The real truth is that I have that wanderlust. I have always had it. I guess it's because I came from the middle of nowhere.
Sure.
And I love Iowa. I always bag on it just because people laugh, it's fun. But
Yeah.
I'm pleased to be from the Midwest. But when I got to see the ocean for the first time, I remember that feeling that everybody gets when they see it for the first
Yeah.
time of just feeling insignificant.
Yeah.
And I like that feeling. Today, right behind us, you're looking at the skyline of Hong Kong that
Yep.
we're pulling into.
Yes.
And
Beautiful.
this has been the one consistent thing in my life. When I worked for the cruise lines, I worked for Royal Caribbean before in Celebrity. I got to see the world with them, and then with Park West, it's even better because I get to see the world in luxury with all these VIP clients. And I was saying this last night. I get to the same way with my siblings. I get to learn their lives and their stories and their employers and the schooling that they did and all of that. I get to do that same thing with our VIPs, and I get a new group,
Yes.
every time to get to encounter. And I can't imagine a life without travel. So as long as there is a heartbeat in me, I
Wow.
will be traveling. However, I'll answer your question now, even though
Yeah.
that was I
little-
skirted it as best I can. No, right now I am obsessed with Africa.
Okay.
I never had any desire to go at all, just to be clear. And I went there to do a cruise, and then I went there to do a recruiting event. And I have fallen in love with South Africa.
Okay.
And it makes me want to really explore the whole continent. But I went on safari, and I just remember the big five animals of Africa. I got to see them in the first half an hour.
Wow.
And this tour guide said that there were people on our safari vehicle that go there. They live in Africa, and they go there once a month, and they'd never seen all five in one ride.
Wow.
And I got it in the first half an hour. And he said they have some term for that in the language there, and that it meant that I'm forever tied to Africa now. And
Oh.
I now that's probably a good way to sell a room.
Yeah,
or a
exactly.
trip.
Yeah.
But
Bring you
but I
back.
do have to say I miss it all year long. I
Wow.
make sure to go once or twice every year.
Nice.
And I'll keep doing that until I've explored that whole continent. And it's crazy because it was not even on my
Wow.
list. But there's something about being out there, and I was in the actual wild where there was actual danger.
Right.
I had a baby elephant get this close to me, and right when I was enjoying that moment, the mother came, and she was not
happy.
And this guide had to chamber around in his rifle. And the thing is about shooting an elephant is, first of all, basically no one there wants to do that.
Yeah.
These people are about preserving nature. But the second thing is it doesn't kill them. So even if he shot the elephant, it would have likely ended in my death.
Oh, no.
And so instead, I just looked at her, and she looked at me, and I am not exaggerating. She was 6 inches from my face with her her eyes were right here, right in my face. And it was unbelievable. I wasn't afraid in that moment. Later, when I thought about it, I was terrified. But in that moment, it just seemed like she was checking me out to make
Yeah.
sure I wasn't going to hurt her kid. And of
Right.
course, I had
No,
no intentions
intention.
of
Yeah.
any of that.
And she could feel that. You
Yeah,
think?
and so I was sold,
Yeah.
right? But partly adrenaline and partly like, maybe, I could actually die from this.
Yeah.
Anyway, so right now I'm focused on Africa, but there's so many great places. I love the Caribbean. My favorite port in the whole world for cruise ships is Juneau, Alaska.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Which there's nothing exotic about Juneau, Alaska. I just love it. I love the Alaskan people. I love everything about it. So, yeah, I'm very eclectic. So
Yeah,
it's either
it's weird.
I want to go to Tanzania or Juneau. I don't know how you explain that.
Well, that's a guy who's traveled a lot. Why don't we talk about the pandemic, right? What happened? Cruise ships was shut down for a while. It was weird, I'm sure.
So round about March 15th, the
Of 2020. Yeah.
And we were advised, I think it was Adam Goldstein that told Park West, I forget now, but one of the CEOs of one of the companies called us and said, you're going to hear an announcement tomorrow. We're shutting down the cruise line industry.
Yeah.
This was made in, the Florida Cruise Line Association, I think, was who made the call together.
Yeah.
And so that was that. Then we got notification that most states were making it illegal to do group gatherings, and our whole business is based on that. So in one day, we lost all of our business.
Wow.
And 14 days later, we went live on the internet with a live auction with 2 auctioneers that were ping-ponging back and forth. And we were able to save our company by providing that. And we wanted to just make enough for payroll. We ended up doing in excess of $100 million in 2020 with people collecting art they'd never seen before. And it was mostly people, to be frank. We got about 800, we did a bunch of television advertising, CNN, Fox, Home Garden.
Yeah.
They're trying to target people who might want art.
Yeah.
And that got us, a few hundred people a month. But what it really was the people who loved Park West from cruise ships over all the years were logging in and buying. Frankly, they were buying way more than they normally do on average. We think they were doing it to help us.
To save you.
To make sure we were okay. And so they not only saved us, but we've now developed that as a division of our company, which is equal to our cruise line division. We have this incredible online telecast that happens every weekend.
Every Sunday.
Yeah. Well, it's Friday, Saturday.
Oh,
Sunday.
Friday, Saturday.
Yeah, so it's 52 weeks of the year.
Wow.
You can check it out sometime.
Yeah.
It's 3,000 to 5,000 new artworks are added every weekend. It's just
and it's everything.
so
It's
cool.
from the $50 pieces.
Oh yeah,
up.
Even $20 pieces, all the way up to millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And obviously we have to sell some of the high-end pieces in order to make it worth it. But it's become a wonderful thing and a community. That group, we have. I think now we're down to only 2 or 3 people, but at one point we had a couple hundred people who had never missed one.
Wow.
Because of course we can track attendance.
Sure.
So from the beginning in 2020, they made it like 3-4 years of
just every
weekend. And again, they probably don't tune in start to finish because they have lives. But they check in every weekend and pick up a little something. And it's a really cool thing.
It is. This is, I think, our 3rd VIP cruise, and it is wild to see, a lot of people when they collect, and it's everybody's happy at a Park West event.
Yeah, I think there is a sense of community and a sense of whether you're buying the Rembrandt for $1.5 million or whether you're purchasing the Autumn de Forest for $5,000. There's a sense of we're in it together. We're experiencing all these new things together.
Yeah.
We're kind of traveling the world and collecting art. It's such a cool little community. If I were to put my finger on what I'd like to develop over the next 5 years for Park West, is I'd like to turn it more into a lifestyle brand where we have events that aren't always just auctions, where we really develop that community more, because there's so many people like-minded in the sense that they love art and love travel, and that's enough.
That is a unique thing.
Be political, or not everything has to be I guess commerce-minded.
Right.
I think building that community for the long term is great for Park West and great for the people who collect from Park West. So anyway, hopefully we can do more of that as we go forward.
That would be fun. So when did you take over the COO role?
So I think it's about a year ago now in COO role. Before that, I was EVP. I got the EVP gig in 2020 because I was the primary person who launched the Albert Scaglione was the primary person, but I was his hands and feet for that. And so I moved into that role because as we started to come back online, late in 2020, Florida allowed us to do some events. which was cool. And so when we came back online, we had furloughed a lot of people, and so somebody had to kind of be the maestro putting the band back together. And so I did that, and then I started doing more of like the overall management of the company over time, and so they gave me the promotion here in the last year. But I enjoy it. But I have to tell you, coming out and doing another cruise, because I'm only doing one cruise this year.
Oh, this is it?
This is it.
Nice.
Oh man, coming out and doing this cruise, I'm like, why am I working in an office? Like,
you miss it, right?
Yeah, I used to have to get a new passport every 2 years.
Yeah, because you'd fill them up.
I'd fill up the pages, right?
Yeah.
And some countries you have to have a full page with no stamp,
Yep.
so they won't let you in. So I used to have to get a new passport every 2 years, and I realized when I got my new passport, I got it in January of 25. I realized that I hadn't gotten a new passport in like 4 or 5 years.
Oh no!
I was like, what a loser! What are you doing?
You're not traveling, John.
Yeah. What's next for me? A cubicle? Come on. But
Yeah,
anyway.
4 walls in a cubicle. I can't imagine you in a cubicle. That's
Even
funny.
at office, the team at the office would tell you they prefer it when I don't come in.
Yeah.
I'm a bit of a bull in the china shop.
There you go. There you go. Well, I'm curious. Talk about your personal art collection, because I can tell you love art. But what do you have? What's hanging on your walls?
So I have a little bit of everything, and the reason is I've become pretty close friends with so many of the artists of Park West, and also artists outside of Park West that I meet, through, because I'm constantly going to places like Paris or to Bangkok or to London, to art fairs to try to find what's next.
Yeah.
And for our company, the biggest fair, of course, is actually in a super exotic place called Miami Beach.
Yeah, Art Basel.
Art Basel
Yeah.
every year. That's the biggest one. So I just realized I named all the ones except the biggest one. And the people who run that fair would be like, listen, jerk.
Yeah,
But,
we give you a nice pass.
yeah, they're very nice to me, so I don't want to make anybody mad. But I go to these places, and I sometimes there's art that's so good, but wouldn't really work for Park West.
Right.
And so I end up collecting those pieces as well. But anyway, so in my collection, I have a lot of pop art because I like bright color.
Yes.
I like the energy that you can feel from those sorts of colors. So I have a lot of that.
Okay.
And then you'll laugh because the other thing I have the most of in my collection is Salvador Dali.
Oh, really?
Which is the opposite of
Yeah,
positivity. And bright
it's
color
kinda
and
dark,
all of that.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
It's a little dark and twisty, but it was the first art that when I looked at it, I had to stare at it for a long
Sure.
time to get it.
Yeah, we have a
And
dolly hanging for the same reason. Yeah.
you kind of have to read it like a book, right?
Yep.
Instead of looking at it like a photograph. And so I really like that. I have, I don't know, Duev, he made me a huge, almost mural for
Wow.
my home. The first house that I ever purchased, he gave that as my housewarming gift.
Nice.
And Tim Finley, I went to Tel Aviv and saw the Chagall windows in Hadassah Hospital there.
Okay.
And I stood in front of those windows and wept. They were so beautiful with the sun coming through them.
Wow.
So I said Tim Finley. That's funny. Tim Yankee.
Yeah,
Tim-
I was going
Tim
to say, I
Finley.
think, yeah.
Tim Finley's the vice president of sales for Park West. Anyway, shout out to Tim.
Hey, Tim.
All the Tims. But Tim Yankee made a 7-foot tall panel of stained
Wow.
glass windows on canvas. That was his tribute to the Chagall windows for me.
No.
And he hid like my and my wife's initials in there, and like
Very cool.
the state that we live in. He put the emblem of the state. Anyway, so that's one of my prized possessions as well. But I also have a lot of Peter Max.
Sure.
I've collected I think I probably have the most Peter Max, and then behind that would be Salvador Dali. Because I know Peter and
Sure.
I love Peter, and especially in recent years when Peter's health has not been great, I wanted to get the art while I still can afford it.
Yeah.
So I'm like everyone else, I think. 'Cause
Yes.
I think everybody's doing that right now.
Yeah, a lot of Peter Max collectors on this ship.
Yes, yeah. And on every ship and also everywhere. It's so interesting how often I see it in pop culture. I'll just be watching a series on television. You see a Peter Max in the back.
Yeah,
and,
I've seen that a few times.
Yeah, all over.
It's like,
the place.
whoa.
So, yeah. Funny, it's Peter Max and then Alfred Alex Gockel, the German artist.
Sure,
Park West
Gockel.
represents him as well. I see him in movies all the time. His art is everywhere. So, yeah.
Very, very cool. Well, I am curious. When you think about art, I mean, some people think about art and they think about money and the price and the value. You've said multiple times on this trip, buy what you love.
Yes, it's so important. If we, I call it shoehorn somebody into a piece. If they give us some indication that they like it a little, and then we just hammer on them until they get it.
And that they relent.
And that is one way of selling things.
Sure.
That's without taking a shot at everyone in our industry, that's the standard gallery
Sure.
model. You go into a little room, they close the door behind you, they dim the lights, then they bring the lights back up, they stand between you and the door, and they just hammer you, and then they offer you financing options, and then they offer you a discount, and as you move towards the door, the price drops 20%. All of that stuff is so against our model. Our model is much more, buy the art that sings to you. You will never regret it a day in your life. And we have, buyer's remorse and people requesting refunds for buyer's remorse is a real thing for any business.
Sure.
And certainly we're selling a luxury product, so it happens. But we're talking about 0.1% of people will come back to us and say, man, I wish I didn't do that. Where I have friends in the gallery business where like a third of their sales, they consider them wobbly, meaning like the person might come back and say, what did I do?
Right.
We just don't do it that way because I know about myself. If I see something and I love it and I desire to look at it every day in my home, I don't really care about the money.
No.
There's money that you have to have in order to live. Nobody's spending that buying
No,
pictures.
no,
Right? That's
no.
not what we spend. It's the money that we can spend on whatever we want.
Yep.
And we're choosing to allocate it. Like it's vacation money,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so vacation money should really go to the things that'll bring you joy.
Yeah.
Everything in my house I love. I've been given pieces even by artists that I didn't love.
Yeah.
And those are in a storage room in my basement. Right? Because I don't want to be disrespectful, but
Yeah.
I'm not going to hang up something and look at it every day I don't love. So that's the whole secret. I think that's the special sauce of Park West is buy art that you love. Who cares what it's worth? We don't sell art as investment. Most of the time art's a terrible investment.
Right.
Sometimes it can be okay and sometimes it can be great, but most of the time it's not. Most people aren't investors. So what does that leave? They buy art to adorn the walls of their home, to commemorate a trip, for the history of it. And that's what we're all about.
Well, let's talk about the different levels. And I think most people bump into Park West, probably on a cruise ship would be my guess. And again, that was Olivia and I's story, right? We came in and first thing we did is we bought, essentially posters, and then they were signed posters, and then so let's talk about the different levels up to an original piece.
Yeah, so most people's path with us is they went on a cruise ship, they were sitting by the pool, and they heard the bing bong announcement, and free champagne and free art and free art and free champagne. Did we mention free champagne and free champagne and free champagne?
Exactly,
and free
that was us.
And then they happened down mostly to get the free booze. Nowadays, the cruise lines have really done something awful to us, and that is a lot of them are providing free booze. That's not good for our marketing plan. But anyway, so they show up for the free art. Usually they get just a free piece.
Yep.
And that gets shipped to them in a tube, unframed. So I think they're out $35 for the shipping. That's what most people start with us.
Yep.
Then the next time, when they got the art home, they took it to Michael's or someplace to get it framed, and they discovered that when we told them we'd frame it for $199, they thought it was expensive. Then when they framed it at
$350,
Michael's, it's
double,
2 or 3 times. And so then when they come back, they've already got a little trust in us because we gave them something without expecting something in return, and we told them about a price to frame it, and our price was better. So that's kind of how people join us. They come back the next time and they decide, you know what, I'm going to purchase a limited edition piece. So they buy something for, $200, $300, $400, $500. They get a framed artwork sent to their house, ready to hang on the wall. Once that's delivered, the next time they go on a cruise, most people cruise 1.2 times a year. That's the average cruiser in America. And so the third time they go, maybe they get a hand embellished work. The fourth time, maybe it's a mixed media painting. The fifth time they buy an original, a one of a kind. And the sixth time, it usually is a 6 purchase cycle. By the sixth time, they're interested in stepping it up. So whether that's a really famous artist original or a historic masterwork or master print, that's usually like the evolution. And then once they get to that point, they tend to only buy art from us forever.
Yes.
So they tend to stop buying art from other galleries because we provide free vacations and we provide the artist interface where you get to meet the artist who painted it for you.
That's a very unique thing.
And we're not the cheapest, but we're very safe. We're very safe, and if something goes wrong, you better believe we're going to make it right. And there's the tie-in with the cruise lines there, which also gives people a level of comfort. But most of our collectors buy art, I wouldn't say exclusively, but aside from what they buy in a store they find on vacation, most of our collectors collect only from us, and it's a really wonderful, wonderful business.
What percent of Park West collectors qualify for VIP?
As a percentage, I couldn't tell you, but
1%-ish?
It's probably more than 1%.
Okay.
Because we have 2 levels of VIP. Well, there's several levels, but with the cruise ship VIPs, there's 3 levels that can qualify, and then with our land VIPs, to get invited to one VIP on land, you only have to spend a couple of $1,000s on an invoice, because we view that as the feeder program.
Sure, of course,
right?
makes sense.
And so they go to the land team, and then when they see those artworks there, either they're only going to spend a few hundred, and that's okay.
Sure.
Sometimes we lose. But often they'll get there and see something really special, and they'll go big, and that's how they end up coming on the cruise VIP. So it'll be, let me think about that number. It's less than 10, but more than 5.
Okay, somewhere in there. Big single digits.
Big single digits, yeah.
Nice, nice.
And it's such a wonderful program. And people end up eventually in a position where they filled every wall. Then they usually do a rotation.
Yes.
Then they give it to their kids, and eventually they have to tell us, "We love you. We want to cruise with you, but we can't buy any more art." That's usually
that's
how
a lot of art pieces.
But it's a wonderful ride, and we have such good times with these people. And my accountant is a Park West VIP. My lawyer is a Park West VIP. Like, everyone in my life is somehow tied into this weird little community that we've built. So,
yeah. Well, it's been amazing to see. I think there must have been 15 pieces already break 6 figures on this cruise, I think.
Yes,
At least,
yeah. I counted a few days ago, and it was 12. And
several pieces yesterday.
And there'll be I think we're very close on 2 pieces that'll be in the 7-figure range. I think those will be closed here in the next couple of days. People need a little more time.
You would think, right? 7 figures.
Yeah, but it's exciting, and by the end of the cruise, it'll probably be double that for pieces over 100 that are sold. And we're not setting Christie's and Sotheby's, they're setting world records all the time. We're not doing that, but within our little community, it's incredible to see how many people step to that level, and that's what they want to do. And again, it never starts there. It's always, they started with something, and then they trade that up until they're ready to go and start to put some of these big pieces down. The Rembrandt that we have here, that's 1.5 million. It's the first one I've ever seen. And then when it was priced, I did a bunch of research, because I'm always worried. I don't care that we're the cheapest. I want to make sure that we're in line. Right. So I did a bunch of research. I don't think there's another one for sale on the planet.
Wow.
And so that's such a cool moment. Like, the money part is great, and it's great for the company, and it's great, that I'm not discounting the figure. I'm just saying, to have something that literally no one else on the planet can have, that is pretty cool. By Rembrandt. It's not like a painting by me. No one else on the planet would want. But, but no, to have a Rembrandt that no one else on Earth,
that's pretty cool.
That's pretty
How long do you think that was in the warehouse, or collected, or stored, or whatever the right word is, at Park West? How long did you inventory it?
A long time.
Yeah.
We held that for a long time.
Decades.
Because we had to pay a lot of money for it. So you have to hold it. I mean, I'm sure that's, by the way, not that I know anything about real estate investing.
The longer you hold, the higher it goes.
Because I suck. But anyway, I'm sure people who actually can make money at it, that's what they do.
Right.
But that's it. And so for me, to make money in real estate, it only took a global financial event followed by a global health crisis.
Right. That's all. But
that's all I need.
Let's not do that again.
No, thank you. I'll stay out of the thing. I'll buy houses I want to live in or visit, and forget trying to invest. But anyway, it's terrible for your channel. But I would imagine people watching this know a lot more than me, and they're good at it.
No. Well, I think a lot of people on this channel probably bump into Park West, and it's fun to hear. It's fun. It's fun to hear the story.
I'm tied in with a few of the real estate groups, and they'll use our art for staging and things like that. So real producers and those, I do those in every city that we have a gallery in, because it's so easy for them to come over and pick art. We can hang it up, and
Well, I am curious, what is the most expensive sale you've been involved in as the auctioneer in the room? I'm curious.
So selling it to a consumer.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. So let me just think about that for a moment. I think that was the Meisterstiche by Albrecht Dürer. I think that's the largest single sale I've ever made, and that was at 1.3 and change million. And so, and I think for our company, I think it was a single piece at, as I recall, a Chagall a number of years ago for $3 or $4 million. I think that's it for.
Have you been in an auction, Sotheby's or Christie's, where it was 9 figures just in the room?
Yeah, and that's cool. And there's an electricity, but also for me, again, I'm just a pretty normal dude from Middle America. It feels like I'm watching TV even if I'm in the room. And even when we're buying art, because sometimes we buy art in that category, like lots of
Yep.
art, not one piece.
Yeah.
But when we do that, for me again, it just feels like I'm playing Monopoly. Like because
Yeah.
it's not it's not my money for one thing.
Yeah.
And it just seems crazy that that's what changes hands. But it's a big business, and it's an exciting business, and there's so much intrigue and innuendo, and in some cases, like with Picasso, scandal. There's so many cool things about it that if you're a person who loves history, you have to love art history,
Right?
Because it is so much more sexy than just Napoleon and wars. It's so sexy.
Yeah, yeah. Well, clearly you love art. If somebody wanted to check out Park West, where should we send them?
So first of all, parkwestgallery.com is a great way to take a look at a lot of our artists. parkwestgallery.com/online, you can check out one of our online telecasts. There's no cost or obligation to attend, and you can look at 5,000 works of art and see what they're all priced at and all of that. And then, of course, on any of our cruise ships, we operate on all of the major cruise lines, some of the smaller ones as well. And then we have galleries. Our galleries are in Honolulu, Hawaii, right on the sands, Waikiki Beach. It's a great excuse to visit Hawaii. And then in Las Vegas, Nevada,
I've been to that one. We have a home there. Yeah,
it's a great space, nice. And they say it's the most valuable retail square footage in the U.S. and that's
I believe it.
Forum Shops in Vegas, and then in Southfield, Michigan, right outside Detroit. And then, of course, one of our flagships is in New York, and we're in Soho at 411 West Broadway. But any one of them, you go in, you're not going to get a heavy sales pitch. You're going to get people who love art and love to talk about it, trying to make you fall in love with the art the way they are. That's again, that I think is that's our Big Mac sauce, our special sauce for Park West.
You do it very well. Well, guys, do me a favor. Leave comments below. Who is your favorite Park West artist? I would love to hear from John. Thank you so much.
It was a pleasure.
Yes.